Hello and good day everyone, MeteoMark's Weather here. Thanks for joining me as we continue to watch the tropics, where all eyes are going to be on the Caribbean, the Atlantic, and the Intertropical Convergence Zone as we go through the next several days to couple weeks here. We're going to line up these tropical waves, take a look and see which one has the best chance of development, especially as we head towards June 7th through the 14th. We're going to see a big tropical moisture surge that could include South Florida as well. We'll also be looking at a big pattern change here across North America as we transition from severe weather in the plains to an East Coast and Eastern North America trough. And we'll be looking at the rest of your weather for North America, your wildfire smoke outlook, as well as the Western Pacific here to see if there's any typhoon action anytime in the near term. And don't forget, I do have my 2024 hurricane outlook, a link in the description down below. Also at the end of this video, check it out to see what I think is going to happen this hurricane season. Let's get into it. All right, so we'll start off here with the tropics with your GFS, and we'll transition over to the European model. You can see our big old tropical wave just sitting here producing lots of rain anywhere from southern Central America, Jamaica, Haiti, Hispaniola here, Dominican Republic, southeastern Bahamas. Yeah, this is high pressure to the north, but this high pressure will be retreating ever so slightly, allowing this system to actually push towards the northeast as we get into Monday. So you can see all the moisture heading north at this point, north of the Caribbean islands. Now, the Intertropical Convergence Zone, there's our big tropical wave, another one coming off the coast of Africa. We're going to continue to watch these as they traverse essentially across the Atlantic here. And here's the Eastern Pacific. We have this little area. It's not likely to develop, but we do have some impressive tropical waves here in the Eastern Pacific. One thing I want to make note is, many of you are probably wondering, why haven't we seen a tropical storm yet? It's now June. Being that this is going to be such an active season, well, I said this season would be very backloaded, meaning El Nino's effects are not fully worn off yet, even though we've transitioned to a neutral phase. It's going to take a while for that to transition, for the atmosphere to reset. So as we go in time here, we're going to obviously get into La Nina, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get rid of some of this extra wind shear. Also, we're dealing with Saharan dust out here in the MDR of the Atlantic, so that's something we'll have to continue to watch here. But look at, as we head throughout the week here towards June 6th and June 7th, Puerto Rico, this area we'll have to watch, as we go throughout the week. Watch this area, though, into the Western Caribbean. This is where we're going to start to see a big moisture surge, some of it coming from the Eastern Pacific. But as you can see here, as we continue to go out here in time, this is towards June 8th. So right now we're looking at two areas of potential interest here. One from Belize all the way through Cuba and the Bahamas. And then another, look at this big tropical wave just southeast of the Lesser Antilles. This is looking rather impressive. So we're going to see a big surge of tropical moisture continue from the southeast here towards the Eastern Caribbean islands. And this area is going to be a big strung out area of tropical wave action here. Look at this. It actually does start to try to form potentially something here towards June 10th. It's looking very, very powerful. There's a low pressure initializing near Cancun. So this could bring some beneficial rains back towards Belize, the eastern Yucatan Peninsula, and up through South Florida and the Bahamas. That is our potential tropical surge, as well as another tropical wave as we get towards June 11th here, moving through the southern Lesser Antilles. So things are ramping up here. So could we see that first tropical storm by June 15th? It's looking potentially possible here. Now, it's not definite, especially with these tropical waves. A lot of parameters can change between now and then. But look at this towards Miami and Havana over towards the Bahamas. Yeah, this is June 12th. It's looking rather rainy in these areas as we get that tropical moisture surge. And watch this. As we just continue to go out here in time, you can see area of low pressure moving up just off the southeast coast. This is something we'll have to keep close watch on. This is going to be with us for quite some time. Intertropical Convergence Zone as well. We could have any sort of tropical wave go depression on us, but there's definitely a big trend here towards that moisture surge here across the Western Caribbean and potentially the Eastern Gulf of Mexico up along the southeast coast of the U.S. So something we'll have to keep close watch on. Southern part of Gulf of Mexico here as well. as we continue through the middle of June. All right, so taking a look at the European model, I know many of you trust this model a bit more, especially medium range here, but look at this. Here is that big, it's really showing up good here on the Intertropical Convergence Zone of the MDR as we head over the next couple days. There is our big moisture plume here in the north central part of the Caribbean, heading into the southeastern Bahamas. So as we continue in time, there it is. European model really not developing this into much of anything. Here's our next big tropical wave, big moisture maker here. Let me just zoom out so you can see all the way out south of the Cape Verdes, that intertropical convergence zone. Look at Puerto Rico by the 4th here, really getting a lot of heavy rain action as we continue in time. Those high pressure systems retreating, allowing this system to make a clean exit instead of heading towards, I mean, with this weather pattern that's going to be setting up along the East Coast, it's going to be a trough later this week. Any tropical systems that would be developing out here would be deflected to the northeast. I just want to make note of that for our U.S. viewers here. Doesn't mean we can't have something, track into the Gulf of Mexico, but it is more promising to deflect these systems. Now, look at this out to June 4th here, around 8 p.m., June 5th. What we start to see here is an elongated area of low pressure start to take hold here with this tropical wave action. And we do start to tap into some eastern Pacific moisture here towards June 6th and 7th as well. So look at this. Yeah, some heavy rains right around Jamaica, even the Cayman Islands getting in on this, Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula. It is looking really promising here to finally cool you down and get some rainfall. And then we're watching another big tropical wave out here southeast of the Lesser Antilles. So as we head towards the 9th into the 10th, look at this. This is where things really start to get interesting. It's amazing this is lining up pretty well with the GFS this far out. That is encouraging that we have some better agreement here. And look at this big tropical wave out here towards the Lesser Antilles. Trinidad and Tobago looks right around the 10th to be getting some surge of tropical moisture. And look at this. The European model pivoting this tropical wave from South Florida all the way to Belize with a potential area of low pressure right around Belize. So this would be some good news for rainfall anyways across the Western Caribbean. And as we head towards the last couple frames here, I want to make note of something here. Yeah, very active intertropical convergence zone, but the European model not only showing a very large tropical wave here near Barbados and Martinique and Guadeloupe, but look at the central Gulf of Mexico here. If this model run holds true, which this is the first model run I've seen on the European model really show this going much further west as high pressure out here builds pretty far to the west during this time frame. Could we actually have a tropical entity in the Gulf by June 11th? That's something we'll have to keep close watch here. And one last thing here on the European model. We're out here by the Azores. Here's the Azore Islands here, Portugal over here. This is our system we're dealing with in the Caribbean now, this energy. Could this actually develop into some sort of subtropical or tropical storm here as we head towards the 11th and the 12th? It's looking rather interesting here, just southeast of the Azores here. So something just to keep an eye on here. Sea surface temperatures across the Atlantic are just like bath water here. They're even warming up off the East Coast here. Look at even the eastern New England. This is a little bit troubling. The dust out here is doing a little bit of a number on the sea surface temperatures, but just bringing it to just near average. Most of the Atlantic, though, is well above average. We're about 2 to 2.5 months ahead of schedule here. So looking at the precipitation anomalies here, you can really see, thanks to Tropical Tidbits here, as we go through this time period here, we go through this week, you can see that across the north central Caribbean here. That lifts to the west. As I said before, this is going to be pivoting towards the eastern Gulf and off the southeast coast. There's our intertropical convergence zone as we head through. This is actually through mid-June. And as we head through mid to late June here, there is the troubling sign there into the eastern Gulf. Florida is included in this, as well as the eastern Caribbean islands. And there south of the Cape Verde Islands, that's when things are really going to start to ramp up here. We get towards the end of the month, June 30th, look at all of the Gulf of Mexico really getting in on the act of this big tropical moisture surge. These positive precipitation anomalies really kicking in as we head towards, say, this is, right right around the 4th of July. So look at the Western Gulf as well towards Texas and Louisiana. Yeah, this is towards the first... Yeah, this is the middle of July. So really looking at above average precipitation here. And then as we look at the CANSIPS model, look at this. This is for July. Look at how crazy this is. This model is going bonkers here from the Cape Verde Islands all the way to the Gulf, even up the U.S. East Coast. So as we head towards August, it just solidifies. The bullseye here is right over the Central Caribbean as it has been over the last couple weeks. And look at that. If we head into September, it just surges. And then October, thankfully, we get a little bit of a downtick, obviously, during this month. But look at this. We could be looking at a late season, lots of late hitters here across the Caribbean. So the European model here, I wanted to show you the moisture content here and the dry air. So obviously the brown shading's the dry air, moist sections here, the greener colors. So as we go out here in time, we can really see how much dry air is available. Now out here, this is where the Saharan dust is really affecting. But look at this. This moisture surge across the eastern, northeastern Caribbean islands is going to continue as we head throughout the week into Monday and into Tuesday. You see that area, it may develop into something, but I'm not overly impressed with this system. But as we continue throughout the week here towards Thursday, this tropical wave here, this is the one we're going to have to keep a close watch on. Yes, it's going to be heading into some drier air, but I expect that to slowly retreat to the northwest here. Let's take a look at the GFS. And confirming here with the GFS model, you can see as we go in time, there's that moisture plume surge here across the western part of the Caribbean. This is towards June 10th. So there it is in that time frame, lining up with the European model, and that heads towards South Florida, Belize, the eastern Yucatan Peninsula here towards June 12th, 13th, and 14th. One thing to note, that East Coast trough does keep that moisture well off the coast. So taking a look at precipitation totals here, heavy tropical rains here across Central America. This is going to be increasing throughout the week from Honduras, Belize, Nicaragua. This is great news for you. Look at Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Hispaniola, southeastern and central Bahamas here towards Puerto Rico. This is where by the time we get towards June 11th, look at this. This is massive. Anywhere in the yellow shading, that's 100 millimeters or more, 3.5, 4 inches. And look at some of these totals here, the eastern Yucatan up towards parts of South Florida. We could be getting up close to 175 millimeters. That's closer to, 7, 8 inches of rain. And here we go with the European model as we continue in time. This just goes through Thursday morning, by the way. You can see here into the red shading, 50 to as much as 80 millimeters. That's going to bring us up close to 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain. And here into the Eastern Caribbean, this is where we're going to see those red shading areas, even towards the Lesser Antilles. We're getting towards 50 to 80 millimeters. Locally, higher amounts, 1.5 inches, upwards of 3.5 inches of rainfall. And here's our GFS model here. This takes us through just this week. Look at focusing right over the Caribbean islands as we continue to go through the middle of the month here. Look at this moisture surge as we go out here in time, averaging 90 to as much as 150 millimeters of rain. That's 2.5 to as much as 6 inches plus. As we continue to look later on Sunday here, an enhanced risk of severe weather across Nebraska and Kansas here. And then a big area of slight risk from the Mexican-U.S. border all the way to the Canadian border here out into the Plain States. As we progress towards Monday here, thankfully this does kind of calm down. This is a marginal risk of severe weather. Nevertheless, you still have to keep an eye to the sky for any watches, warnings, or any sort of thing like that. Still some severe weather here in the forecast into the darker green shading. And then as we progress into Tuesday, that area shifts to Minnesota all the way down to northeast Kansas here. Watch out for some damaging wind, large hail potential. All right, so as we head throughout the rest of the late afternoon and evening hours here, here is our HRRR future radar here. Let's just zoom out. You can see here into parts of the Ohio Valley and Northeast, widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. Big severe weather outbreak here across the northern plains all the way up to Manitoba here. And here across parts of the southern plains and the Gulf Coast regions, we're going to continue to watch those shower and thunderstorm activity here with the tropics. Now look we're going to get a massive surge of development as we head towards the evening and overnight hours across West Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska here. with that enhanced risk all the way up here into Minnesota and the Dakotas. Here across parts of the east, we're dealing with those scattered showers and maybe some heavier thunder showers. But overnight, you can see this surges to the east here. As we go out here in time towards 11 a.m. on Monday morning, you can see those areas of showers and thunderstorms. Northeast Texas really getting hit hard here all the way up to Wisconsin. That's severe weather moving east throughout the day. Into Tuesday morning around 3 a.m., we see a resurgence there across the plains as high pressure builds in to parts of the Northeast here. And if we want to take a look at the smoke outlook here, there is a little bit up here in Canada with some moderate Canadian wildfires. But the big story here is across the south, especially Texas and the southern plains. We got wildfires burning here into parts of Arizona and New Mexico. And the big story is Mexico, especially southern and central Mexico. You can see as we go through the next 48 hours, that's where a lion's share of the smoke is. Look at much of the Gulf of Mexico with a thin layer of smoke here as well. All right, so let's pick up where our HRRR model left off as we head through the 4th of June. High pressure, enjoy it here in the east because things are really going to go downhill. You can see that severe weather moving to the east. I don't expect that severe weather outbreak to continue that far east, though. It's going to become more of a heavy rain event as we head towards June 6th and 7th. This, unfortunately, see this low pressure up here, and I will be covering this in my Canadian weather outlook just momentarily in a minute or so. So this is going to become the upper level low that essentially ruins our weather for a whole week up here in eastern Canada, the Midwest, and the Northeast of the U.S. Watch out here. Another severe weather outbreak might be brewing here on the bottom side of these troughs. But you can see, look what's happening here. There's that big old upper level low here across Quebec and Ontario. Could give way to some of these coastal lows, so watch out. I hate to say this, but it might not be the best weather time here across the Northeast. Here it is, June 10th into June 11th. Look at that. 2 double barrel low pressure systems here, all the way up to Newfoundland here as well. And you can see on the bottom side of this trough, these are the areas we're going to have to watch for severe weather. Look at this big old low up here into parts of Manitoba and Western Ontario. That could promote some severe weather all the way up into Ontario here. Backside of this, could we see some wet snowflakes? It's quite possible. That also turns into an upper level low. Another moisture surge. Let's just get back to there it is, June 12th into the 13th. Look at that. 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. We do start to moderate things as an area of high pressure does start to build in towards the middle of the month. And our synoptic flow pattern here on the European model, let's see if it agrees with the GFS. As we go out here in time, there's those strong to severe weather outbreaks as we head through June 4th and 5th. There is that upper level low showing up very prominently here across eastern Canada, the lakes, the Midwest. So yeah, many of you are wondering last video why I was saying cool and showery here across the lakes, the Northeast. Well, this is why as we head through the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, you see this common theme. This upper level low is going to make a big mess of our weather here across the East Coast, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes. Look at the severe weather outbreaks here across the southern plains, down through the deep south. That is the pattern we're unfortunately going to set up in, and there it is. This trough along the East Coast, if we do get something in the Gulf of Mexico here, could it actually carry it this direction? We'll have to keep an eye out here. So total liquid equivalent precipitation here as we head through this week. We can see here on the European model as we head through, this takes us through Thursday. You can see most of the rain happening from the Midwest down towards the southern plains, the Gulf Coast, and even some rain here back east as well, anywhere from a quarter to a half an inch of rain, more like 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches here back towards the Midwest. And look at here, the upper part of the Pacific Northwest here. Lots of storminess. All right, so liquid equivalent precipitation totals here on the GFS. We are looking at a heavy rain scenarios here, setting up with very stormy conditions as we head all the way through the week into next weekend. Many areas picking up, say, 1 inch to 2 inches here into the purple shading, closer to 3.5 here into the red. And look at that, as we continue through the middle of the month, you can see across the northern tier of the country, Pacific Northwest, all the way through the Midwest, Northeast. This is where the trough's going to be setting up, so lots of heavy rain. Also, locally higher amounts here, 6 to as much as 8 inches here across parts of the plains. Upper air pattern here across North America as we continue through, say, the middle part of the week into next week. You can see, look what's happening here. We have a massive trough developing here across the eastern part of the country, as I said before, that will help deflect any of these tropical waves out to sea. Now, as we continue to go out through the rest of the month here, our CFS medium range climate model continuing to show stormy conditions until around the 22nd, where we get a little bit of a ridge of high pressure. That may be short-lived, though, as we get that next trough towards the end of the month and the beginning of July. Quickly does get replaced by a ridge, though, across the east. So for our Canadian weather outlook up here, it is going to be stormy, especially initially up here in British Columbia, parts of Western Ontario, and parts of Newfoundland here, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. Look at this, though, in Eastern Ontario and Quebec. It's looking really nice. So as we continue to go out here in time, let's just take a look as we go through the 3rd into the 4th. The storm track initially is going to be up from the plains here, so southern Saskatchewan, Manitoba, all the way up to northern Ontario and Quebec. So that's going to keep things, initially above average here for temperature-wise here in Eastern Canada. But look at, there's the start of that upper level low. That's going to ruin our weather, especially across central and eastern Canada as we go out in time. This is June 5th, by the way, June 6th. Yeah, this all just gets hung up here. You can see active weather patterns setting up here for eastern parts of Canada here, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland here, the Canadian Maritimes. As we head towards the 10th, here's another system. We could get some pretty severe weather outbreaks here. Pretty intense ones near Manitoba as we continue into Western Ontario. And look at this unsettled conditions here into Quebec and Ontario as we head through the 12th into the 13th. Look at this. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's not the best weather for outdoor activities as we head into Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. We get that wintertime pattern really kicking in here. Unsettled conditions towards the center of the month too, but look at here in a much of central and western Canada here, things clearing out. So for our Canadian precipitation outlook here, you can see initially southeast Canada looks dry, at least through Wednesday or Thursday. There's a little bit of a hole in the precipitation there, but look at parts of southern Canada here. From Manitoba, Saskatchewan, all the way to southern Ontario and Quebec. This is where we'll be seeing 70 to as much as 100 millimeters. This is a good solid, 2.5 to almost 5 inches in some of these areas. So yeah, really a massively active weather pattern across much of southern Canada for that matter. So as we head to the Western Pacific here, we actually don't have a whole lot to talk about. The Philippines, with the exception for the northern Philippines being affected by a frontal boundary here and some monsoon moisture. We do have the intertropical convergence zone out here. We're watching a tropical wave out towards just south of the Marshall Islands here. A lot of storminess up here in Japan, but that's expected here into June. It is your monsoon season. And look at, as we go out here in time, we'll watch these tropical waves here. But look at, the big story this time of year is always this monsoon. Look at from the Singapore, the Philippines, just north of Singapore here. This is where we get this big surge of moisture off to the northeast. Sometimes we can get a spin up out of some of these, like right here towards June 9th, just east of Vietnam, west of the Philippines here. So it's something we'll have to keep close watch here. Could it become a tropical storm here around Taiwan come around the 11th and 12th? It's something we'll have to keep an eye on here. But look at that. If it does develop into anything, it doesn't look like anything tremendously major. But here south of Japan towards the 14th, we could be looking at some sort of tropical entity as well as we continue towards the center part of the month. As I said before, it doesn't look like we have anything major on the radar. That monsoon moisture just continues from Vietnam all the way up through Japan. I got plenty more weather for you in just a moment, but take a look at my affiliate. Do you want some awesome maps? Check this out.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States And you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
All right, so we're taking a look at the weather forecast for your high temperatures. Lots of 80s and 90s here along the Gulf Coast, 70s here across the north in the Ohio Valley and the Northeast for your Sunday afternoon and evening. And look at this Monday. This heat is definitely going to build over the next several days. Watch as we go into Tuesday here. You can see, look at this surge of warmth, mid to high 80s getting all the way into the Northeast here and hundreds there across western Texas. And look at this, as we continue through the week, this heat just continues to build for Wednesday until Thursday. We start to see this trough in the Northeast. You see temperatures cooling down into the 70s here, even some upper 60s towards the UP of Michigan here, and 90s along the Gulf Coast. And then look at this Friday. Yeah, you can see where the trough is setting up here. Unsettledness, cooler temperatures into the 70s. Extended outlook from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna River Valley, New York and Pennsylvania. Look at this Sunday. We have a chance of a shower. Partly sunny skies up near 80 degrees. Monday and Tuesday, much warmer, the mid to high 80s. Tuesday, Wednesday, some clouds rolling in, but it's Thursday. Unfortunately, a cold front moves in from the west, an upper level low, showers likely, 77 degrees. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget, it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.